Hello, and welcome back to Books, Cats, and Chaos, the podcast where we explore epic tales, sprinkle in a bit of humor, and embrace the chaos of book loving, cat herding, and everything in between. My name is James.
And I am Casey, and joining us right now is our youngest son, Finn. If you are listening in on the podcast, our youngest little tabby here is wanting to be held by James. If you're on YouTube, you can see he's about 5 months old and he's rambunctious. But we are a husband and wife team who love all things books, cats, brews, and the fun chaos in between, as you can clearly see.
We are continuing our deep dive into Crown of Midnight in the Throne of Glass series. This is book 2. Just as a reminder, if you are joining us again, or if you are new to our podcast, we are visiting the world of Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It is my time reading. It is my first time reading through this entire series, and so we are doing this in a spoiler-free format. I say spoiler-free. We're not talking about anything past the chapters we're talking about, but if you're listening, then obviously there are spoilers in the chapters we're talking about. So, we are, however, not talking about anything else. So no Akatar and no Crescent City, anything. And definitely nothing past Crown of Midnight. Yeah, no spoilers, everybody.
As a content reminder, this podcast is for adult audiences only, as we will be using adult language to discuss adult topics and content and themes and more. So if you have tiny little ones running around, please save this podcast for later. And also, if you are new here, our format is pretty simple. We do a recap of the chapter before going into our thoughts, theories, and predictions of what's to come, and then we repeat the process for the next set of chapters that we are doing.
We like to talk about all the stuff that's going on and the things that are annoying us about the characters and the dumb decisions they make. And is she really the world's greatest assassin? Because, girl,
She's a little rusty.
she been rusty. Anyway, if you haven't already and you like what you hear so far, please rate us, subscribe to us, comment on our podcast, or on a social media channel. We would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. With that said, let's head right on into Chapter 15. Celaena sat in the back of the Great Hall with Chaol and several of his closest guards and the lesser nobility, all in an effort to see Rena Goldsmith perform for Prince Hollin's return. And it was nice to see Chaol relaxed and teasing with his guards. Rena played the harp, entrancing everyone with her voice, accompanied by a violinist. For her last song, Rena dedicated it to the royal family. The song was an ancient legend, an old poem that Celaena hadn't heard since her childhood, and she had never heard it set to music. The song spoke of a fey woman blessed with profound power. Kings and lords sought her out, even though they feared her. Celaena thought it was a very bold choice, especially to dedicate it to the royal family. She also noted that the king didn't react to the song. No, he just stared blankly at Rena. Celaena didn't know when she had started crying, but she did. Chaol found her hand under the table and held it, giving her strength and support. They looked at each other and smiled. Hollin was bored and thought the performance was stupid. Dorian noticed Chaol and Celaena staring and smiling at each other, noting that she never once looked at him like that. Taking a deep breath, Dorian let Celaena go. Hours later, the king of Adarlan, Parrington, and Roland stood in the dungeon. Rena was shoved to her knees before them. She hadn't put up a fight when the king's guards captured her and the violinist. She hadn't screamed when they beheaded the violinist. The king told her it is punishable by death to speak of or to encourage magic. It is an affront to the gods. Rena recited the names of the ones that the king had killed. her daughter, her sister, her neighbors. She continued reciting her list of names as the axe fell. So, short but impactful chapter here. And it seems it took no time for the king and Parrington to rope Roland into whatever plans that they have. I wonder how far or how deep Roland is in with them at this point.
Yeah, for Roland, I just still feel like he was never meant to be a co-conspirator. I've always seen him as a tool that to be used.
Like Kane.
Yeah, because even though he is the royal family, I don't feel like that really matters. They're just people to use to the benefit of whatever it is that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Oh, hi, Finn.
Yeah, I feel like he was brought in and not given a choice. Actually, you know what it reminds me of is that meme of The Rock with Chris Hart, and he's like, "Are you in? Or are you out?" And Chris Hart's like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he's like, "Just are you in? Or are you out?" And he's like, "Well, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm out." And he's like, "Well, no, you're in." That's what it reminds me of. Like Roland, I feel like Roland's not smart enough to deal with whatever they're dealing with, and he could be like, "I don't want to be part of this," and it's like, "Well, no,
You are.
you are."
I see. I get the opposite. I feel like Roland is more like, oh, the king is extending me an opportunity to be part of his council. Oh, and now he's letting me in, with like him and Parrington. I'm being embraced into the fold, and he's going to take advantage of that as much as he can because he wants to be close to the king, because he was in some small little port city like that didn't really have a whole lot of influence. So this was his, big chance to level himself up. I don't think he is as smart and as conniving as like Parrington is. So he is still a tool to be used like Kane. But
Yeah, that's I figure is I think that he thinks he wants to be a part of this until he really finds out what being part of this is, and then it's like, oh wait.
oh, too little, too late.
But then it's too late, and he's not going to have a choice.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
yeah. I will say I hated this chapter.
Please expand more.
I was really bothered about the killing of the musician. Like,
As one should be.
I understood the statement that she was making, and you get the idea that she knew exactly where this was leading, and the violinist knew exactly where this was going. This was going to be a final performance. But I still didn't like it. It was still just
hard to read, hard to swallow.
Yeah.
It's funny that this comes up at the time politically where we stand in America. With the Army Corps choir having to sing, in front of the president and in front of all these governors and everything, and the choice of songs that they sung and the way they spread out was just bravo to them. And I love seeing all the videos and stuff.
Yeah.
But it also, I was thinking about this and about another scene that comes later. And I fear for their safety for exactly like this sort of reason,
Yeah. Well, whenever you have people who are in a position of power and you have people speaking out against that, it's always a risk that, are you willing to take that risk? And
Yeah.
it can be a very real threat for a lot of people.
Yeah. Especially the people in the audience that knew exactly what the song was referencing, the Les Mis song. And then you have
Oh,
other people that were like, "Oh, we're part of that revolution." It's like, "Oh no, honey, it just flew right over your head. What everything that was happening and what they were singing about." But yeah, just to see parallels in a fantasy world being mirrored in our own world right now is just kind of
well, I
sometimes a
mean,
little too on the nose, but
that's all of the best stories are mirror, parallels to things in our world. Corrupt governments, tyrannical leadership, and shadow dealings with corrupt, foreign,
mhm.
whatever. That's when you really break down a lot of stories. Um, when you break down a lot of those stories, you really start to see the parallels between them.
Yeah.
Finn, sir,
Can you give us a meow, Finn? For our listeners, he is currently sniffing James's mic.
you might hear the purr. No, okay. Um, so yeah. Um, chapter 16. What started as a nice catch-up breakfast with Celaena and Nehemia quickly turns sour. Nehemia wants Celaena to do more as the king's champion, to stop thinking of only herself and her freedom. Uh, Nehemia tells her that with each kill, she is finding fewer and fewer excuses for remaining her friend. Celaena is legitimately upset and finally confides in Nehemia that she hasn't actually killed anyone. Nehemia is surprised and worried, telling her that if the king finds out that he will kill her. But then Nehemia also asks about Archer Finn, seeming a bit nervous. When Celaena told Nehemia what happened with Davis, Nehemia visibly pales. She tells Nehemia about Elena before showing her the secret tunnel. Celaena recounts everything between her and Elena. She showed her the room where Cain summoned the Rhetoric and even introduces her to Mort. While Nehemia examined the word marks in the tomb room, Celaena realizes that the stars on the floor were actually constellations, and the stag, Lord of the North, the symbol of Terrasen, seems to be staring up at something, which looks like an eye, and there's a hole in the eye. The other eye was completely sealed within the word mark face, but this eye held a hollowed out iris. The riddle came back to Celaena. It is only with the eye that one can see rightly. Surely this is not a coincidence. The word mark only formed a face when standing on the stag. Otherwise, it seemed to disappear. Celaena looked into the hole and found a wall, but couldn't see anything else. And Mort, of course, is not helpful. Nehemia agrees to teach Celaena more about the word marks. Nehemia also dismisses Celaena's thoughts on why Davis has a book on the word marks. Celaena starts to think that maybe the Eye of Elena and the riddle of the eye in the tomb might be connected, but Nehemia also dismisses that. Archer has a letter delivered to Celaena naming names of people associated with Davis, so Celaena heads to the city to trail them. When she returns, she finds a note from Kale letting her know that the king wants her on guard duty at the ball the following night.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. And my initial thought on this is Nehemia is being a terrible friend.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I'm glad you agree, because I really did not like this scene.
I don't. So we have, discussed at length this thing where Nehemia is legitimately concerned, right, for her people, and the fact that she can't do anything because the king won't even talk to her. He's made it so that she has to talk to
Roland.
Roland, and that's not gonna get her, anywhere.
Yeah.
Um, hold on, I just need to. Um, and despite everything that Celaena is going through, she's still. It's like every time they meet, she's pushing her and she's like, "You need to do more. You need to do more. You're the champion. You need to do more." And Selena's like, "Yo, I'm the champion. I have to do exactly what the king says. Okay, exactly what the king says. This is not like a, promotion where I can just run around willy nilly and do what I want.
No,
Like,
she's still like a slave. She's just now the personal slave of the king.
yeah, and she gets paid.
But yeah, her freedom is still restricted. If she doesn't do what he says, he will kill her, or he will kill those closest to her.
Yeah, and so we have that, and then so Celaena now is feeling, pressured into telling her the truth, and I don't think she was planning to tell her at this point, but
No.
she felt like she had to because Nehemia's like, you're killing people, and every time you kill someone, I just don't think I can stay your friend, and da da da, and it's like, come on, that is like the absolute shittiest thing. When you know that your friend is suffering, Celaena didn't want to be the champion, but she also didn't want to go back to Endovier.
Right? Like they all, like the group, Nehemia, Dorian, and Kale, they were all supporting her throughout the championship. At the final battle, they were like, come on, girl, you got to do this. You got to win. You have to become the king's champion. And the minute she does become the king's champion, like everybody flips.
Everyone's
And,
like, how could you? It's like, what do you mean, how could I?
yeah, like
That
when
was
they're,
the that was the whole point.
yeah, yeah,
So Celaena has been pressured now into bringing Nehemia into the fold, and immediately we get shown that there are some things here that Celaena seems to be piecing together, and Nehemia is like, no, that's not. That
see,
doesn't sound right.
and it was also, to me, it was cagey that, Nehemia is like, as a king's champion, you need to do more and more. And if you keep killing people, I don't know if I can be friends with you. And I need to give my parents something to show that you're, trustworthy and, savable and blah, blah, blah. And the minute that Celaena breaks and tells Nehemia the truth, how she is trying to save these people and fake their deaths, Nehemia's like, oh, but if the king finds out, he's going to kill you. You can't have it both ways.
Right.
Like, you can't be sitting there going, don't kill, but also, oh my god, you're not killing. If the king finds out, you're gonna be dead. Like, what are you gonna do? Girl.
And yeah, and now that that's just another liability that I have to worry about.
Yes. Yes.
Trying
That?
to keep this all very tightly under wraps, and I
Yes.
can't do that now.
That and her interest in Archer Finn is sus.
Well, yeah, why was that the one that she like immediately brought up?
Yes. Super sus.
Because she wouldn't. I mean, we're assuming that Nehemia doesn't know who her current target is, right?
Well, Celaena did tell Nehemia about Archer Finn
Oh, did
before.
she?
Yeah, she did. But I don't know, just the way she asks about Archer Finn and comments on him, I
Oh,
feel like
yeah.
she's more interested in Archer Finn than just, a random
A little too concerned. Uh,
yes.
in this random guy that Celaena hasn't talked to in years. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do you know Archer Finn, Nehemia? Because he
Yeah.
doesn't seem like the kind of person that you would keep company with.
Right? For a
Like,
court, like maybe some of the others, them being lords and holding titles and stuff, Nahimi would be a bit more like wanting to know about them as a princess. But as a courtesan, what interest does Nehemia have in this guy? And just also, Nehemia was just so quick to dismiss Celaena's working theory about the Eye of Elena and this eye riddle and the eye discovery in the tomb. It's just all too coincidental.
and
And
Davis having the book.
yes. And I get that Nehemia was like, oh, centuries ago, the eyes were all the rave about protection and blah, blah, blah. Yes, fine. But all of a sudden, we're getting a bunch of these eye things right now. Like, why wouldn't you be more like, oh, yeah, we should discuss this. We should see if these are related. It's a possible avenue, and if it turns out we're wrong, and then we'll go search in a different direction.
It really does feel like she was trying to steer her in a different direction.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought you were helping her. Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to? Unless she's just trying to shift her focus to something else so that Celaena will help her
With
instead
her
of
cause.
with her cause, instead of focusing on, this riddle and this, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's fine and all, but I have a very real problem. My people are gonna just like still don't want to get involved in the.
Yeah.
I have told you before. Yeah.
It was also curious that Fleetfoot did not want to accompany the women down to the tomb and instead waited in Celaena's room. And as animal lovers, as you can clearly see on our YouTube here with our babies, that should be a sign that there is something down there or something has taken up residence or something is lingering. You should not dismiss animal reservations.
Maybe he just doesn't like Mort.
Maybe he could
Or
sense
he,
a
she,
Fleetfoot
she. Maybe she doesn't like Mort.
maybe, but if your dog or your cat is like, I'm not setting foot in there, you will have to drag me. I would be like, I'm not setting foot down here either.
True.
Or let me grab, a bunch of sage in one hand and my pistol in the other sort of thing. And then, but yeah, I just think that we should be more careful down there, according to Fleetfoot.
That's not a bad takeaway.
Chapter 17. Kale stationed Celaena outside on the patio, hoping that her temper would cool. And it didn't. The queen was throwing a ball in honor of Hollin. And seriously, how many parties did this kid need? Hollin was throwing a fit, because of course he was, on his mini glass throne, shoveling sweets into his mouth. And Dorian was dancing with lady after lady. Kale turned back to find Celaena had abandoned her post, and she instead was waltzing in the darkness with herself. She just wanted one moment to feel like a normal girl. Instead of reprimanding her on the spot, Kale asked her to dance with him. This was different than when Dorian had asked her to dance with him at the Yule Ball. At that time, Kale had also rejected dancing with her. But now he was asking her, telling her that things were different now. And so they danced, flawless and lethal, both acknowledging that they would never be a normal boy and girl. And after 10 long years, Celaena realized she was home when looking at Kale. Dorian managed to sneak away from the ladies and wanted to step outside. One glance at Kale and Celaena dancing stopped him in his tracks. Nehemia joined him, asking him not to cause trouble for the dancing pair. That they, her and Dorian, had burdens, responsibilities that Cale and Celaena didn't and wouldn't understand. Nehemia also tells Dorian what information Roland had provided her. The king has approved Councilman Mollison's plans to swell Kakula's ranks, i.e., making the labor camp bigger with more people. Roland wants Nehemia to tell her father to agree to this plan to make things go more smoothly. Of course, Nehemia flat out refuses. She asks Dorian to speak to his father, as she is not allowed in the council room, and Dorian tells her he can't. And like with Celaena, Nehemia confronts him. He can't or he won't. And if Celaena were sent back to the mines, to Endovir or Calicula, would he try and free her? Did he have any second thoughts to the thousands at those camps? Before leaving him, Nehemia traced a symbol on his chest and told him that he has power in him, more than he realizes. For now it sleeps, but when it awakens, she will help him with it. Dorian wondered what she meant by that, and why, when she said those words, something ancient and slumbering within him opened an eye.
Dude, that's like so much foreshadowing right there.
So much foreshadowing.
Like, it's one of those things that you don't catch until you do a reread.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like just so much. Just like,
Are you having another brain explosion?
well, that, and then also like, dude, Torian gets so like shafted.
Yeah.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody because this is a spoiler free.
But yes, there is a lot to unpack in this chapter. We do see Cale and Celaena. They are continuously growing ever closer together. And for her to look upon Cale and feel like she's at home, I think speaks volumes, especially with this journey that she's been on for the past year and a half or so. And given how they met in Throne of Glass, where they were constantly bumping heads with each other, and he didn't want to speak to her, he didn't want to know anything about her, and now look at where they are.
It honestly was a turn in their relationship that I was not really expecting. Because they had a tendency to butt heads so much.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned, I think in the last or the one before, in this book, so far, Cale has really pulled up. Like, she is getting, shit from Dorian. She's getting pressured from Nehemia. And now she's literally got Cale, who's on her side. And he's like, I want to help. And she's like, I don't want your help. And he's like, okay, cool. I'm going to chill right here. I think you should take my help, but it's cool. You want to talk about it? You don't want to talk about it? It's cool. Like, he's not pressuring her to do anything other than kind of like not to forget who she is. Which was
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that was a big flip on his character from the first book, where he's like, "You're an assassin, and I can't believe you did this," and now in here he's like, "I get it. You're in a crappy position. I get it." Like he had a life-changing moment.
I mean, killing somebody is quite life-changing. But yeah, it funny to think that killing Cain to save her is what finally made him come around to her. We saw him start to break and start to feel more and care about her, but then he would immediately put up that wall between them. And yeah, that whole confrontation and taking a life, I think, just really made Cale wake up and see things in a new light. And I have to say, my first read, I was not loving it because I wanted her with Dorian. And I was still so mad about how that all played out. And I was just like, no. but reading it again, I can appreciate it more. Um, their budding relationship and their growing relationship.
I feel like Nehemia shit. No, Celaena and Dorian um are good on paper,
Mm.
but it's not the kind of thing that lasts.
It's more of like a high school, early college sort of relationship
Yeah,
where
because
you're still
they're
trying to find yourself. You guys could have been great friends, but it's not marriage or long term.
yeah, I don't see how that could have ever because so he's the prince and she's definitely does not want to be a princess or a queen, right? To him because that's a whole nother sentence right there.
Yeah.
Um and if he gave up his, his royal heritage to what follow her out into the world, he's only known a life of pomp and excess and glorious, clothing.
Hmm.
He would not know what to do with himself
No,
after more than like 2 weeks.
they both have a lot of growing up to do still, and they need to do it separately. And even then, I think they would work better as friends than trying to start again romantically. It
Yeah.
yeah, it's one of those young relationships where you're still learning yourself, you're just still discovering what you like, what you don't like. But yeah, they work better as friends. I
Yeah.
still didn't like it.
Um, yeah. And so then, on top of that, now we've got, I don't remember what the original thought there was, but we have a lot of things going on. Nehemia is back to playing games. Like, that's what it feels like.
I
And
agree.
for, I'm pretty sure that at some point they were like, her and Celaena were like, honesty, no more secrets, kind of like whatever, whatever. And even though they're both back to secrets, right? I feel like Selena's doesn't have a choice in the secrets that she's keeping because, she's literally defying the king.
Yeah.
And Nehemia is now back to, you know, not talking about what she knows. Now she's like cryptic messages with Dorian and like,
And what's up with her drawing symbols on the window and then drawing a symbol on his chest? Like, what are these symbols? Do they mean anything? Or is she just drawing nonsensical stuff because that's how she fidgets? It's just kind of weird that she would draw a symbol on his chest and then he felt something like start to awaken within him.
yeah, I really want to know like what she drew on him because that was that was odd.
Right. I mean, we had started seeing like little glimpses of things leading up to this point with Dorian and him feeling the cold and the frost, but what does she know? What does she sense about Dorian and yeah, what did she draw?
Well, I mean, and she tells him that she will help him when it awakens. So clearly she's anticipating
Something.
something is going to happen to him. And
But
he,
oh good.
I was going to say, something's going to happen and he's not going to be able to handle it. And she supposedly will be able to help him handle it, right? So where is this knowledge coming from?
Mhm. And what a risk that she's talking to him about it at the ball or the
Huh.
king could overhear or one of his spies could overhear. You know, what's to stop Dorian from turning her in and being like, she's speaking about magic or she's speaking heresy or whatever. This is great grounds to get her sent back to Elway or, confine her, hold her at ransom. We know that Dorian is better than that. But if he's freaked out,
Oh,
this is a
yeah.
good way to save his ass. But then it would be outing him that he might have something within him.
Definitely not something that you want leaked out to anybody.
Yeah.
You just keep that all bottled up, locked inside, and just nope, not
Yep.
talking about it. Not, what did you hear me say? You didn't hear me say that. I was saying I really like the shape of her dress, and when she was saying she couldn't wait to unlock my masculine power because I'm so manly.
Yeah. Look
Yeah.
at my sword. It's so long.
Yes, look at my big long sword.
It's
I'm the
sharp.
prince. Huzzah. Dear Lord. Chapter 18. Celaena had been distracted during her word mark lessons with Nehemia. Kale, for his part, does not mention the dancing during their morning workout. And she's exhausted. But she has to confront Archer. She needs more than a list of names. She needs to know what they're planning and how much they know about the king. Archer begged her for more time, but Celaena held firm. King gave her a deadline, so Archer has a deadline. He has 6 days to come up with something to give her, or else. Um, Dorian is filled with an icy rage as he studies the maps and figures of Calacola in the council chamber. He should have fought to get Nehemia into this meeting. Calacola couldn't support the current number of slaves. There were just too many. And if they were to start mining just north, okay. But if they were to start mining just north of there, they could erect buildings for the guards and the overseers, but not for the slaves. The slaves could sleep in the mines. Dorian noticed that not only do his father and Parrington wear black rings, but Roland also has one now. Dorian confronted his father and the council that if they keep swelling the mines, there would be no one left. He tells Roland and Mollison that they should spend a year in Calacola, then they can come back and talk of plans for expanding. Dorian tells everyone his vote is no before storming out. Making his way down to the ancient stone castle, Dorian found a secluded hallway and punched the wall with all his might. He felt freezing cold, but the cold fueled his calm rage. The stone wall cracked and the window exploded. When Dorian picked himself up, he realized the area surrounding him was clear of glass and wood and stone. This shouldn't have been possible unless it was magic. This made Dorian sick. Okay. While spending more time in Kale's room than her own or in the library, Celaena laments that she should hire someone like Philippa so that they could bring them cake and cookies. Because girl knows she loves her sweets.
She has priorities. Good ones.
Kale leaves and comes back with chocolate cake. After eating half the cake, Kale passes out, and Celaena can't help but think that Kale is one of the good ones. In a kingdom that valued honor and loyalty could rise again if it had people like Kale. But the king of Adarlan would strike it down. Leaving his room, the other half of the cake in hand, Celaena finds Dorian outside her room sitting in the hallway. He's distraught, looking for Nehemia, but she is nowhere to be found. Celaena invites him in, and for a second, there's something in his eyes that reminded her of a world long since burned, a glimmer of color and power, but he blinks and walks away.
We see that, like, mentioned several times, about a world long since burned, kind of reminding her of home and stuff. It's just,
Yeah, I think
Another foreshadowing, I
she's
feel
seeing
like.
things in people and circumstances that are forcing her to remember
Yeah.
things, things that she does not want to remember.
And no, she's not ready.
Um, so Celaena and Nehemia, they're doing the lessons in the word marks again. Although at this point, you kind of have to wonder if Nehemia is even doing it like correctly, because it seems like she's trying to lead her off into the weeds on things anymore.
I feel like they should have started the whole word mark thing a lot earlier, especially like with the murders, that were taking place with the champions and there were word marks surrounding them. Like Celaena had started kind of researching them on her own. And then she became King's champion and it just kind of like fell to the wayside. But she knew that there was more to it and more surrounding the king. And she knew that Nehemia knew about the word marks. I just felt like this was a long time coming and they should have started this studying a lot sooner.
It does seem like something that they would have started like immediately after her whole encounter with um the final challenge, where she was dealing with um the spirits of the dead, and Nehemia is doing the word marks to save her, and all this stuff. Like, get through all that, let her heal, and then be like, okay, you need to know like how this stuff works. Yes, I did the one under your bed. It was a protection one. We'll start with that one.
All right, let's start with the easy basic ones and work our way up. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's
And
like
maybe if they had started with that, it would have built their relationship and their trust instead of Nehemia just constantly pushing, the plight of her people. They could have built upon the word marks, and then Celaena would have felt more at ease with Nehemia, and other things could have happened between them more organically, like letting Nehemia know that she's not actually killing these people. And
yeah, it just you can't help but wonder if one of the two of them was putting it off, like, yeah, we'll do it later. Yeah, we'll do it later. But I need you to help me with this. My people are really in need. It's like, well, yes, but I am also in need. I need to understand how this stuff works.
yeah,
And it's like, well, yeah, we'll get to it. We'll get to it. But my people need help. It's like, okay, you're not listening.
yeah,
Kind of what it feels like.
yeah. Speaking of Nehemia and continuing on this topic, do you think Nehemia is the one that unleashed something with Dorian? I know we kind of briefly talked about it last chapter. Like, how does she know that something is there? That's what I want to know.
I am wondering now if she was partly responsible for this change that is happening in Dorian.
Yeah, I
There is
feel like
clearly something happening to Dorian.
we were noticing like little bits, leading up to this chapter, but I feel like after she drew that symbol and stuff, it awoken more, and that's when he, went and punched the wall and was that the cataclysm? Was she setting him up, or
What I want to
would
I
it have
would
happened?
like to know, this is only the first time we're told that she's done something like straight up to him. She's like, "Hello, here's your chest," and right, and he's like, "What the hell?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, but do we know if she hasn't been doing this the whole time? Like, you know,
Ooh.
like has he been in proximity of her and she's been over in the corner, like, and it's like unlocking, like little bit by
things.
little bit, chipping away. If Nehemia had never come, would Dorian's whatever never manifested?
Mm,
I mean, it's clearly magic, right?
yeah.
Um,
Which
so
is also another thing, but continue.
yeah, I know. In a world with no magic, there seems to be an abundance of magic. I'm just curious now that if he had never encountered her, would that never have manifested in him?
Or would it
Has
have
she been chipping at him and then finally
it came out?
she came in and she was like, okay, enough chipping. Dam is open. Like,
Or here's a big enough hole that the rest will just
or
crash open
yeah,
now.
taking, it's like tink, 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 chip. I just wonder, did she set this thing up from the beginning? Was it so that he would be forced to come to her and then he would be an asset for her cause because she would need to train? Like,
Hmm.
there seems like there's a whole thought out plan here that we are not privy to.
Yeah.
Um,
I know we don't really get any like point of view stuff from Nehemia. It's either Celaena, Dorian, or Kale. And
yeah,
maybe every once in a while we get something with the king in Parrington. But we don't ever really get anything from Nehemia. And that would have been such great like story if we could have
well,
gotten some of her stuff.
those would be great bonus chapters, like
Yeah.
the things in Assassin's Blade. If we could have had a chapter. Well, I mean, we had the one chapter, right? Yeah, where they, no, it wasn't an Assassin's Blade, but it was the one chapter where they went for the dress, trying on the dress, right?
Yeah.
We could have gotten another Nehemia chapter of her laying out her plan
With whoever.
with whatever her plan was, and then, the follow through on how that turns out. Because I'm just curious. I do actually really feel like she did this to him. Like it
Mm.
was in him, but I think
Yeah.
it would have stayed in him.
Stay dormant a little longer or just stay dormant
One or
forever.
the other, maybe. I do feel like part of it is his emotions,
Mm.
and as he's feeling these like this race. So maybe it's also part of the whole thing with Celaena, like him being rejected, and that's not something he's ever gone through, and being jealous of Kale, and all these emotions. And so the power is like, haha, I know those emotions.
I think too, feeling the the frustration with his father. His father's this big tyrant doing all these things, and Dorian doesn't agree with how his father's running the kingdom and taking over everything, and feeling powerless to stop his father and powerless to speak out against his father.
Mm.
I'm sure that probably also was like, we keep seeing these little scenes with him where he is just so frustrated because he should have fought for Nehemia to get into this meeting. He should have done this and he should have done that. He should have tried more. And that starts to chip away at a person too, you know. Maybe that was
So
also part
like,
of.
yeah, so his like his lack of power has helped this manifest and come up so that he has power.
Yeah, I
But
think.
it's, in a world where magic is against the law. So not super helpful magic power.
So, I mean, okay, so we know that magic does not exist and it hasn't existed for 10 years because of the king. But we learn from more that ancient magic persists outside of that, like the word marks. So would this mean that Dorian has possibly ancient magic?
I mean, it would be the only logical answer to that, because the thing that I don't understand is how could his magic be considered ancient magic, but like the Fae living on the continent, like they lost their magic too.
Yeah.
And wouldn't they be like the most ancient of magic?
Right?
So why do the actual magical creatures, the Fae,
And the
get their stuff
healers.
stripped away? You know, I mean, they get stripped away. The Fae that can shapeshift into animals, they all get stuck in whatever form they're in. And then now you've got this very, human character. Magic.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
Oh, well, hopefully we'll get some answers soon.
I don't get it. Uh, and then of course, on top of all that, we have Dorian noticing that the black rings seem to be growing. Um, and this is where I was really convinced that Roland had no idea what he was getting into when they talked about how he had one on.
Mm.
I said, "Oh yeah, Roland." I think he came in and was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be big, play with the big guys, whatever." And they were like, "Oh, we got a plan for you. Here's a ring." And it was like, "Oh, wait, what?" And that's it. Like,
Yeah.
I think Roland just got screwed from the get go. I think he thought it was gonna go different.
He was thinking power and wealth and the ladies and rising above his station and
Yeah, I think he's just another pawn. You know, I won't say he's the next Kane because obviously he's not big and murderous and all that. But
but there are different ways to use the black rings as we have seen with Cain and Keltane and
oh yeah,
I guess we'll see what happens with Roland.
yeah. So um, yeah. Oh, good old Archer.
Archer
I do
Finn.
not trust Archer. 100%. I think he's a skis.
He is looking more and more sus. Like if you were given a timeline to get your affairs in order and get out, wouldn't you be rushing to do that? I feel like he's dragging his feet.
For a man who had his life threatened, he doesn't act very threatened.
No.
And he's
And
pushing the envelope with like, I need this and I need it's like you are not in a position to barter.
no.
Like the king actually wanted you dead like a while ago, and I have managed to keep you alive because I need information.
Yes.
Like, so give me some freaking information.
Oh, and the fact that he lists names just so blatantly in a letter and sends it to the castle where the king could have people intercept it. Like, that's just dumb. He deals with secrets and he deals with high lords and everything, and he knows better. This just seems so
It's sloppy.
ugh, it's so sloppy. And it seems on purpose. It's sloppy on purpose.
Yeah. A person in his position would not make a mistake like that. You
No.
would never risk that because that stuff would be read by somebody.
Mm-hmm.
It always is.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so mad that Celaena has blinders on.
Again.
Again. She is relying on this old relationship from when she was like 13, 14. You're dumb at that age. Like I
It's
was
true.
dumb at that age. Like I thought I was a shit, in junior high and yeah, looking back at that like no honey, you still had a lot of growing to do. Celaena, you know better. The closest people to you have betrayed you time and time again. You should be questioning everything Archer is telling you. And I don't feel like she is.
Right? Why would you not think immediately like he's immediately going to try and figure out how to save his own skin? Um he's not going to just volunteer information just out of the goodness of his heart.
No.
Yeah, and just yeah, she is being way too casual with the whole thing. Now, to her credit, thankfully, she was like, "I need more than names. I need like details, man, details."
Yeah.
Um,
Something that she could present to the king, you know.
but see, I feel like her doing that, he is pushing back on her because he doesn't have details. He's like, I got a list of names. Boom. Maybe she'll leave me alone. And she's like, no, I need more. And he's like, oh shit, I don't have more. I need time to find the information. I feel like he's making it up, and he's got to go and find something believable now to give
Yeah.
her so that she will leave him alone.
Yeah. Ah,
Um,
yeah. A lot of people in this book so far not to trust and to keep an eye on. And we're not even halfway through yet.
frustrating people. I'm telling you right now. Too damn trusting all the wrong people and being wary of all the other wrong people. Like, flip them. You gotta flip 'em.
Right.
Cry me,
I
girl.
was going to say that. All right, chapter 19. Kale wanted to act on his feelings for Celaena. He had felt her touch on him before she had left his room the night before, and it was hard to pretend to be asleep while she had done so. But standing before the king now, he was glad he hadn't acted on anything. He gave his report. His loyalty was still with Dorian and the king. Without it, he was nothing. There was a carnival, and the king wanted Kale and his men to watch the castle grounds. The king also ordered Kale to watch Nehemia, but he doesn't want her alerted to the fact that she has received a death threat. King tells him it's time to take Nehemia back to Elway, as she has been stirring up trouble. Kale would discreetly have his men watch her, as the king didn't want more guards posted around her or outside her room. And Kale decided he wouldn't warn Nehemia or Celaena. Dorian was exhausted. He hadn't slept all night, but he needed something, so he came to the barracks, hoping the guards would wear him down. Roland approached him after the third guard Dorian sparred with backed away. Roland told him that after Dorian left the council meeting, Roland called off the vote, and Mollison was furious. It was Parrington who told Roland to work with Mollison on this project. Maybe Dorian could work with Roland, steer him away from Parrington. Dorian left Roland and went outside where the circus that the Queen had commissioned was setting up. Yet again, another party for Hollin. How many parties does this kid need? One of the covered wagons had a sign, Carnival of Mirrors. See illusions and reality collide. What was the Queen thinking? Illusions and tricks just bordered on the edge of treason. Kel and Celaena caught up to him. Together they toured the carnival being set up and ran into Baba Yellowlegs. Baba Yellowlegs confirmed she's a witch to Celaena, the last-born witch in the Witch Kingdom. The group pulled themselves away from the witch. Celaena knew about witches, the stories and legends. She even had a first-hand account from a former friend. Seeing as how that friend betrayed and nearly killed her, she hoped that those stories were also lies. But the eye of Elena glowed warm and heavy around her neck, and the witch was wearing a crown of stars. Celaena felt this urge, this pull, to go into her wagon. She'd have to return with Nehemia later to see if Nehemia also got some strange sense from this witch. They arrived at the stables, and Dorian gives Kale a night black Asterian stallion. And Kale tells him this gift is too much. This is a gift for a prince. Celaena tells them of the time she had an Asterian mare, and how she stole the mare from the Lord of Sandria in the Red Desert. Before departing, Celaena tells the boys she has something special planned for Kale's birthday. Alone in her room, Celaena was troubled by the parting words of the witch, the words about fate. So she descends to the tomb alone, tired of waiting for Nehemia to do her research. The eye of Elena would fit perfectly into that eye hole she had discovered. Dun dun dun.
Dun, dun, dun. So, the king wants Nehemia gone, but he's also sort of talking about the fact there have been death threats against her. What I want to know is who would be sending death threats to Nehemia? Like, what would the purpose be? Because she can't really do anything other than be kind of annoying, right? To the council members and stuff. Like they've been ignoring her this whole time. The
I
king,
think I think she still like rallies hope in the rebels and in the people, and that's annoying.
yeah, but I mean, you really want to turn somebody into a martyr? Like that seems like a bad choice too.
True.
It doesn't seem honestly the king telling Kale that there's a death threat or whatever it seems like a setup. It feels like a setup to see what Kale's gonna do.
Mm.
Um, where does his loyalties lie? Is he more loyal to Celaena? Is he more loyal to Dorian? Is he more,
Yeah.
um, he is the captain of the guard, and the king's like, that's,
You're supposed to be loyal to
you're
me.
supposed to be
Let's
loyal to
see how
me,
that goes.
and you did kill my choice of champion,
Yeah.
so let's just see what happens if I give this little bit of information here.
Yeah.
Um,
So do you think the king actually wants Kel to bring her home to Elway, or wants him to bring her home and take care of her?
I don't think that he would put that on Kale, because I don't believe the king thinks Kale would have it in him to take care of her like that. I could see him being like, "Yeah, you need to take her back to Elway," and then as soon as she gets back to Elway, um, she dies because of some reason. Like,
Or something happens along
yeah, but
the
it
path,
wouldn't not Kale's fault, but
but something.
something I could see that. And then with the whole thing about there being the death threats on there, it still just very much feels like a setup to me.
Yeah, I can see
Why
that.
did it come just all of a sudden like, oh, and by the way,
Yeah, that is true. It seems kind of weird.
suspicious. And yeah, reading through here again, I am without spoiling anything. I can see the reference with the friends and the horses, and as you guys are reading this, read Assassin's Blade. Remember the horse and the friends
Yes,
and the Red Desert, because that's a good.
it's a good tie-in.
It is a good
Which
tie-in.
So we'll have to circle back to this when we cover Assassin's Blade next.
Yes, because you would think that based on that experience, that Celaena would be acting a little different, and she's not.
With some of her friendships.
And it's a little irritating that every time Celaena comes to a new thing, she immediately forgets the thing that just happened to her.
Yes.
Girl. Anyway.
Yeah. Can we take just a very brief moment here to comment on the fact how blind the queen is to everything happening around her? I think we touched upon this a little bit in Throne of Glass. The queen just being so hyper focused on getting Dorian married and producing babies. And now she's currently focused only on Hollin and throwing just all of these parties for this kid who doesn't even look like his brother Dorian, which is also kind of like,
Dun dun dun.
But she brought in a circus with a witch to read fortunes and have an illusion of mirrors. How far removed is she from the king? Like, the king has outlawed magic, and anyone associated with magic or anything is put to death. Anyone that speaks of it is put to death. Or do you think the king is manipulating the queen in some way, kind of like how they did with Caltaine?
I wouldn't put that above him. Not to the point where it's like, black ring manipulation kind of thing, but just based off the fact, like, the king, I could imagine the king being like, yeah, throw a party, bring the circus, and, like, the circus has a witch, and him just being like, yeah, but, the witches don't really have power anymore, so it's fine. She's just a witch in name. She's
Yeah.
mortal like the rest of us now, and the king could just kind of like pass it off like it's not a big deal, illusions are not magic, that
They
kind of thing.
border a little bit on.
Obviously, reading farther along in the story, this whole thing makes way like, oof.
Oh,
Yeah,
just
not gonna get into it, but the whole thing of Baba Yellowlegs being here
and the mirrors.
makes so much more of the mirrors.
Oh shoot. Okay, maybe you haven't got that far. Sorry. Rewind. You didn't hear anything about.
Be kind, rewind.
We just dated ourselves.
Yeah, if anybody, I'm doing the cocked head.
Huh?
What mirrors? What the hell are you talking about? I'm just talking about Baba Yellowlegs being there and the whole, thing with the king and their thing.
Well, okay. If you are annotating or tagging or keeping notes, I would just say 3 things: Baba Yellowlegs, the crown, and the mirrors. And that's all I'm going to say. No other spoilers. Or no real spoilers.
Am I supposed to know something about the crown too?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
I don't think.
I'm like, wait, what?
I know, I'm just blowing your mind right now. I'm sorry.
Well, if anybody needs to be reminded, I have only gotten as far as how far did I get?
You have the tandem read to do.
I have
so
the
you're on
tandem read.
Empire of Storms.
Yeah, I'm on Empire of Storms. What's the one I just read? I can't think of the name of it.
Of Shadow.
Queen of Shadows. That's the one I just read. So I have no idea what you're talking about with the mirrors or the crown at this point. Okay, good to know. Something for me to look forward to.
Yes.
I still have half of fourth Onyx Storm to get through, and then I can switch back to do the tandem read, because that's going to take all my brain power.
Yeah.
But anyway, yes, make annotations. Remember this whole thing with Baba Yellowlegs and why she would even be allowed to be here in the castle near the king, because typically I don't think that would even be allowed.
No, I feel like the king would like capture Baba Yellowlegs and sentence her to death right away. I mean, we saw how he reacted with Rena, singing a song about an ancient fae lady and all of that, and that was just talking about the fae. And here's a real witch, and yeah, she may be powerless, but still a witch.
She may be powerless. We don't actually know if
True.
if the witches actually follow, because I mean, we've seen other ancient magic that apparently doesn't give a shit about the wards. So, sorry, not the wards. Wrong. I mean, that kind of wards.
The Black Tower.
The Black Tower. I mean, that is basically a ward.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm crossing my books here, but it's basically the same thing. But we already have so many different things that are outright defying this.
Yeah.
Dorian, the word marks, Mort, Elena.
The Eye of Elena.
The Eye of Elena. I mean, so who's to say that the witches can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, I have no power.
Curse, curse, curse.
Yeah, right? Like, maybe they only lost some of their power.
Yeah.
Who's to say, right?
Yeah.
I certainly wouldn't put her within a stone's throw. I mean, it seems like a bad choice, honestly.
There is a lot going on, a lot behind the scenes, and yeah, we'll see how this goes.
Why do you think? I really want to know why, with the way that Dorian has been acting and feeling and everything, that he suddenly is gifting Kale this magnificent beast of a horse.
I think they've always been like bros and besties.
But it
eh,
seems like so much. I don't know.
Over extravagant.
Yeah. To the point where Kale's like, no, like this is clearly out of character.
Or yeah. Hmm.
Because if it had been anything else, I think Kale would have been like, all right, cool, yeah, like we're like, yay, thanks, whatever. But for him to look at a gift from Dorian and be like, no, like this is obscene.
Like this is a gift you would give to Dorian.
Exactly. Yeah, Dorian gives this gift to Dorian, not to his friend, the guard, captain. Um, I just wonder if is Dorian like overcompensating because he's been jealous or because of his freak out thing with the magic and he's like, I need to do something to like
Feel
feel
normal.
feel normal, feel better. And so he's like, here's this great gift. It's like giving somebody a Corvette. And your friend being like, bro, I work at, freaking Staples Center. Like,
Yeah.
I can't, it struck me as a little odd and out of character with the way that Dorian has been acting and because he's been so jealous of
Their
everything
relationship.
and he's now having anger issues on top of all of this. And then Nehemia's like, I'll help you train, oh, voodoo, and
But I feel like trying to get one of those horses because they are so special and like rare that it would have taken some months of planning and negotiating to get one. And I feel like
uh,
Dorian is also kind of a giver too. Like, I mean, for Christmas, he gave, or Yulmus, sorry, he gave Celaena, a bag of candy and Fleetfoot, knowing how hard she, stuck up for Fleetfoot as a baby. He just seems kind of like a giver, even though, he might be a little pompous at times and ladies' man and all that. I feel like for those he cares about, he's always going to give like big gifts. And I also felt like this was a good way for Celaena to be like, oh yeah, I had a mare version of this, not a stallion, but the mare, and I stole her.
I guess,
And
I guess that would make sense if he would have to plan that.
I mean, that's just my thoughts. I didn't.
Yeah.
We just read it different, I
Yeah,
guess.
well, I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, somebody reads something one way and somebody reads it the next way, and then you say, huh.
Who knows? Maybe it was supposed to be a horse for Dorian himself. He is the prince, so he needs a majestic beast, and he was overcompensating, like you said. Like, Kale's birthday was coming up, and he's been seeing Kale and Celaena get closer and closer, and he's feeling jealous and left out. And maybe he was like, yeah, I don't need this horse. I'm gonna give it to Kale, so Kale will be back on my side and be
He'd
my
be
best
mad
friend
and
again.
like, here you go. And what'd you get him, Celaena? It's just like, what do you mean? What did I get him? Not a horse.
I mean, yeah, like how do you top off something like that?
I mean,
I guess we'll see later.
okay. Chapter 20. we're back in the tomb. In the tomb, Celaena confronted Mort, wanting to know if the amulet truly has power and what it actually does. Mort confirms that it does have power, and it protects you, and it guards you from harm. Without wasting any time, she tried to fit the amulet into the eye groove. It sort of fit. Peering into it, the wall on the other side didn't change. She tried flipping, rotating, and tilting the amulet, but no luck. She tried saying Time's Rift as if it were a spell, and had no luck. Mort informs her that she still hasn't asked the proper questions. Angry, Celaena storms back to her room. Always on this night, Celaena has the same dream of her standing on the ledge, a dark, endless ravine stretched between her and a white stag, the same stag that she had spotted through the bars of her prison wagon on the way to Endovir. Celaena awoke from the dream and left the castle before dawn. Kale waited for her at dawn for training. When she didn't show up, he went to her room and found Nehemia sipping tea instead. Nehemia informed him that today was the 10th anniversary of her parents' death, and she left a note saying she took today off. So,
What sort of... Go ahead.
What?
Go ahead.
We're just all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to say, so now I was going to say, in Elena's stead, we have Mort, who is being very unhelpfully helpful, or helpfully unhelpful.
Either one works.
Where she's like, "What the hell do I do with this?" And he's like, "You got to do this, but you're doing it wrong. Well, how do I do it right? Well, don't do it wrong." Like,
This frustrated me to no end. And it's repeated within Fourth Wing too. You have to ask the right questions. Or I shouldn't say Fourth Wing, I should say Iron Flame. You have to ask the right questions. How the hell am I supposed to know which questions to ask if you're not giving me any context clues?
right.
You're just being snarky with me.
I need a frame of reference so that I know what it is I'm looking at.
Yes, exactly. Don't be snarky with me. If I mention something about this amulet and this eye or whatever, lead me somewhere so I do ask the right questions. It's like a miscommunication trope, but not between lovers though.
No, just miscommunication in general.
Yeah. Like, you're purposefully being unhelpful. And regardless if this is part of the character's arc, journey, or whatever, we also know time is of the essence. And the sooner they can answer some of these questions, the sooner they can get to the next thing. And instead, you're just being like, ask better questions. Don't be a dumbass.
Yeah. I mean, to just Mort might not be able to control that.
Yeah,
like if he's magically, whatever, and it might very much be like you can't give her the answers, and it's like, okay, like he might not have a choice.
Yeah, but I feel like he could, I don't know, maybe be snarky about something, like be snarky about this rune, and then she could be like, what fucking rune? He'd be like, the one that you're fucking standing on, and then she could be like, what does this rune do? And then he could be like, oh, this rune does blah blah blah, like kind of a leading sort of, while still being the smartass.
Yeah, that's true. I will admit, when I was reading this, I really thought that my train of thought was going exactly the same as hers with the eye. I was like, yeah, she's gonna put the eye up and it's gonna be like, boom, constellation upside down, and it's plotting a course to something. And then she did it and there was nothing, and I was like, well, shit, okay. Apparently I missed the same thing she missed, because
I thought she was onto something too, but I felt like she needed to be there at a certain time. Like, it was light, Light,
Oh, because light does come through onto the sarcophagus, right?
yeah. So either she needs like high noon or midnight on a full moon or a blood moon or an eclipse or something. But she acts very rash. Celaena's very like short-tempered and impatient, and she's like, "Okay, well this doesn't fit exactly and I still can't see anything. Mort's not giving me answers, so I'm going to storm off." Instead of being like, "Mort, does this amulet go to this eye hole? Yes or no?" Okay, I'm still not seeing anything. Does this require a spell? Yes or no? No. Okay. Do I need to come back at midnight? Or, like, there's so many things, and I feel like she is just like, this didn't work. Fuck this. I'm leaving. And then maybe later she'll get another idea and come and be like, oh, this didn't work. Fuck this. I'm leaving.
Yeah, it's a lot of wasted time because she's too impatient to like methodically
Yeah.
go through things.
And I feel like as an assassin, as somebody who's trained to be an assassin, you would be better at puzzle solving.
You would think, but how many times have we seen her run headfirst into a dangerous trap situation because she was too impatient to
And
look at it?
hot-headed.
Yeah. She has the incident well, in Assassin's Blade that and then she actually has a number of incidents in Assassin's Blade in the different story. And she didn't learn from a damn one of them. And then, she's got the whole thing where she gets in trouble with I don't even remember what the other one was. And then, she goes right in and she's like, "I trust you, Archer Finn." And like,
Yeah.
if she would just stop for 30 seconds.
Yes.
And critically think about what she's doing and what she's attempting to do, then I think she would optimize so much of her effectiveness.
I agree.
Because yes, she does this, and I just imagine her going up and she's like, places it, and then
It's not working.
It's not working. It was like me when I was trying to fix my thing in the car today. It was like, it's not working. Why isn't it working? Damn it.
Yes, but you get frustrated, then you take a moment and you research some more and you come back to it. I feel like Celaena
that's
doesn't
exactly
do that.
what she should do. Cause I understand, because I get upset when I look at a thing and I go, it needs to work this way because of, how this works. And then it doesn't. And I go, oh, no. And then I get mad, and then I come back and I look at it and I go, okay, let me try this thing. And then it usually works. And it's like, okay, I just needed to stop, review, and come back.
Yeah.
And yeah, she doesn't do that. She gets mad and then she leaves.
Yeah. Celaena, you got some growing to do, girl.
Seriously.
But then, if she didn't rush off and be a hothead and all of this, then she would be too perfect as a FMC. And then we would get irritated with that.
I don't think she's at any risk right now of being too perfect.
No.
No, she's got that going for her that, almost irritatingly to the other side where she screws up so often.
She's too human.
Too impulsive.
I have known a couple of people that are like that, though. So we will see how this develops. We also have seen time and time again this white stag. It's a symbol of Terrasen. It keeps coming to Celaena in her dreams. And apparently it showed itself to her, when she was being led away to the prison. And so I did a little bit of digging because, when we were wedding shopping years and years ago and you were getting fitted for your kilt and everything, a lot of the pins and stuff in Scottish culture are like the stag. And we keep seeing the stag reference. So a white stag does bear symbolism and meaning in many like European countries, as well as, some spiritual meanings. And it can mean like the white coat of the stag can mean purity or innocence, but also the stag's appearance can mean that there is going to be a quest or a great change. And in a lot of Celtic mythologies, the white stag is considered to be a messenger from the other world.
Hmm.
So, do you think that that Sarah was drawing from this? Do you think the white stag in this world can mean that Celaena is going on a quest or is about to be involved in a great change, or maybe the white stag is a messenger from the other world, like Elena?
I mean, the fact that the fact that this is the stag that, she saw when she was being carted off to Endovir, and it is something that has revealed itself to her multiple times, it does seem sort of like it's a messenger of change. Something's going to happen, but also kind of like something is going to happen, but just know that something is like watching, keeping an eye on you, maybe. Like it's going to be a change, but you're going to be okay because, you know, whatever unknown, reason.
Yeah.
But it does definitely feel like it reveals itself to her when there is like a major,
Crisis or
or if
turning
she
point.
needs like what's the, like, she needs
Reassurance.
reassurance, yeah. um because the last time she saw it, well, actually pretty much every time she sees it, something really bad happens.
Yeah. And she needs that glimmer of hope or something to hold on to.
Yeah, which makes you wonder what is going to be really bad. What's going to happen now if she's seeing it again, right? Because
Yep.
dun dun dun.
Yes. With that dun dun dun, we head into chapter 21. Kale took his morning run alone. He should have known, should have remembered that today was the death of her parents. In her battle with Cain, he remembered her screaming while Cain taunted her about the brutal murder of her parents. Nehemia informed him that she wouldn't return after nightfall, that she wouldn't want to spend today of all days in Rifthold, let alone the castle. Kel wondered what secrets Nehemia held that the king wanted her watch, and who had actually threatened Nehemia's life. It is a little suspicious that the king hasn't told Kel, who is captain of the guard, who actually threatened Nehemia. This day last year, Celaena had awoken from the dream of the stag in the ravine, feeling a cold, hopeless rage that took hold of her. That was the day she had unleashed herself at Endovir. She killed the overseer with her pickaxe. 2 guards at the end of the tunnel in the mine were dead before they even knew what happened. Then she made her way to the chamber where there were 4 overseers, the ones who had taken the woman from Elway when she first arrived, the ones who had raped and killed this woman. All 4 men died too quickly from her axe. More guards died, but no slaves cheered. And then soon, Celaena was running, sprinting for death, making her way towards the towering stone wall. Arrows shot at her and she zigzagged. The king had ordered that she not be killed, but she was trying her damnedest, hoping that if she killed enough guards that they would forget the king's order and would kill her. Celaena laughed when she reached the wall and was surrounded by 40 guards. Laughed when she lashed out one last time. Laughed even as her world went dark. Kale waited for Celaena in her room. She arrived after midnight and wordlessly got ready for bed. Celaena informs Kale that she doesn't want company, and Kale tells her that want and need are different things. Nehemia probably should have been there for Celaena, but Cale wanted to be the one to be there for her. It was then that Celaena noticed the chocolate cake that Cale brought her. They held each other tight before Celaena told him, quote, "I can't tell if I should be ashamed of wanting to hold you on this day or grateful that, despite what happened before now, it somehow brought me to you." Cale didn't know how to respond to that, but Celaena didn't give him a chance to reply as she strode to the chocolate cake and dug in.
I love
And
that she's like, "Thank you for being here. Now I want cake."
Girl has her priorities. I mean, if you were to present me with a big chocolate cake when I'm having a bad day, that's exactly where I'm gonna be
Right.
going towards. I, for one, am actually surprised that Dorian hadn't pieced any of this together about what day it was for Celaena, and that he wasn't the one to talk to Cale or Nehemia. In Throne of Glass, we saw Dorian being so in tune with Celaena, especially with things like this. He was just so in tune to Celaena's emotions and needs and everything. And I get that he has finally pulled back, realizing that he doesn't have a future with her and he needs to let her go. And he's also a bit distracted with the cold, swirling awakening that's happening within him.
He's got a lot going on too, yeah.
Yes, he does. I still feel like he probably, just given his nature and who he is, that he would have been like, "Hey, Nehemia," or "Hey, Cale, can you check up on her today? I think today is going to be an emotionally packed day." And instead, it was Cale and Nehemia who were like more in tuned to what this was.
I mean,
Yes,
even Cale didn't really remember. It was
Nehemia, and she had a letter.
it,
I mean, Nehemia also pieced together bits and things that what she's learned from
I
Celaena.
suppose that Cale would have figured it out if he had seen the letter. Like,
Yeah.
it's just that Nehemia had gotten there first. So I suppose. But yeah, I mean, Dorian went through all this stuff about, trying to be, can we be friends, be, good friend, da da da. And then now he's acting like, I'm done with you. I can't think of you. I can't look at you because it's so hard. I don't know. He's still being whiny. Even though this is like twice now that he's decided to give up on her, right?
Yeah.
Because the first time when the first time was when he was hunting and the stag showed up and he was like, I get it. Like, I'm the prince, da 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 da. But then now he's like, oh, Cale and Celaena are dancing. I guess it really is like not going to be a thing. It's like, dude, how many times are you going to have this talk with yourself about letting her go? You were supposed to already be past this.
Yeah. I mean, it's been what, 2-3 months at this point? That's hard. But I also feel like they weren't together for very long. So it shouldn't be this hard of a breakup. I don't know. It's been so long since I've been on the dating scene. And that young. It's been so long since I've been that young.
Yeah, unless he is just so wigged out by this whole like magic thing that he's just completely elsewhere. And I could see that where it's just like, oh shit. What
Especially,
the hell?
Especially considering who his father is and, all the steps that the king has done to eradicate magic. And then come to find out that you might have magic or magic something in you that's
exactly.
automatic death sentence. Like, what the fuck? It was also nice that Celaena took the day off, took the space she needed to grieve. I feel like she's been through the ringer. You know, her time with Sam was cut short, and it ever since then it was just like one thing after another: the betrayal, Sam's death, imprisonment, the mines, the championship, everything associated with the championship. She has
Well,
just not had time to breathe or grieve. And all of that resting on an 18-year-old shoulders. Like, I can barely handle my own mental challenges and daily challenges.
well, I mean, that's what we were talking about last time was yeah, she literally hasn't had a break, right? She's gone through all of this stuff from the death of Sam, getting caught, and Dovier getting brought out, getting threatened, doing the championship, demons. And after all of that, now hiding assassinations from the king because she's still trying to be a good person. And then she
Yep.
has Nehemia basically riding her ass about saving her people, and Dendorian being a whiny bitch because she broke up with it. Yeah, she has not had. And so now she's got this one day, and it's a messed up day, but it's one day that she can go and be by herself. And Kale and Nehemia are like, okay, we don't need to hunt you down today. You just go do your thing, and we'll be here
Yep.
when you get back.
Yep.
She needs more than a day,
Yes. Yes, she does.
but
I'm a
at least she got the day.
Yeah. I am a little surprised that like Kale didn't set out to go find her to like keep her company or something. But I'm also glad that he respected her wishes and stayed away. And he did, you know, stay in her room waiting for her return. And he thought chocolate cake. That's what she's going to need.
Can't go wrong with chocolate cake.
No. But just hold on to that thought while you are reading Onyx Storm.
Is Violet a fan of chocolate cake?
Oh, you're going to have a fun time with it.
She hasn't really talked about it, so
Oh, you're going to have a fun time with it. That's all I'll say. Uh,
so are we thinking that Kale starting to question Nehemia? Because he did see her studying with a book with weird marks in it, and they looked familiar. He knows that there is something more going on because the king's not telling him everything, and the king won't even tell him who the threat is coming from,
mm-hmm.
which is kind of weird
Yes.
because you'd think that he should know. Like, oh, it was this group of people over here, and Kale could be like, oh, I'm gonna watch those guys, but
Right?
instead he's got some random like. And does the king know where the threat came from? Did it come in a letter? Did he make it up? Like, where is the legitimacy of this threat, right? And I know we're not there yet, and I'll have to remember to talk about it when we get to later, um, about how he handles this. But I'm having a hard time blaming him for not telling anybody about the threat because it just feels fishy.
It's fishy and it's vague.
It's, like, it feels like a not real thing.
I feel like if it was a real thing, the king would have been like, you need to watch out for this lord or this group of people or, whoever this threat came from. Because as captain of the guard, he would need to know that thing so he could prepare for that. And he could set up measures to protect her from that. But the king's not giving him anything other than just watch her discreetly. We're going to need to send her back home soon.
Yeah, I mean,
That's not a lot of information.
unless the king just honestly is like, yeah, she got a death threat, and if she dies, I don't really give a shit. But at the same time, then you would think that Kale would have been like, is there any more information I should know about this? Or is
Right.
everyone just so afraid to question the king? They're like, whatever you tell me, cool, I will work with that.
I mean, there is that. There's also this blind loyalty that Kel has, like that he has to stay loyal to the king. He has to stay loyal to Dorian and not question. And that's problematic in and of itself.
This is something that we will see with all of the characters. They all need to learn that asking questions helps you do your job better.
It also just helps you as a person.
Ask the question. The worst the person can do is say, you don't need to know. Okay, at least I asked the question.
Yeah.
But none of them ask the questions when asking questions is important.
And then we wouldn't have a story.
Get it together, guys. Come on. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It just feels like there's something
There.
there's something, and whether it's the king withholding information or if it's just if there is no information, I would have a hard time with that too, I think.
Yep.
So, on that note, that brings us to the end of tonight's Crown of Midnight discussion. The next, what am I looking at? Next Tuesday. Good Lord. Okay. Next Tuesday for Crown of Midnight, we will be doing chapters 22 through 28. So, if you have not already read the book, try and get up to at least that point. On Thursday, instead of doing our Fourth Wing episode, we will have our recap of the Romantasy Book Con convention that we went to a couple weekends ago. And then starting again up the next week, we'll get back into Fourth Wing. But if you would like to visit that, we have 3 episodes up already of Fourth Wing, so you can get started and get going as we progress through multiple things that we are doing. We're just running all over the place. We got in-betweens and we got, book reviews and all kinds of stuff we're trying to put together for you guys. So thank you so much for joining us again this week. And we hope that you got some entertainment and you were able to maybe learn something new in Throne of Glass or just enjoy reliving the universe. Maybe it got you thinking about something that you missed, or maybe maybe you learned something new. Who knows? If you have any thoughts, theories, or ideas, let us know in the comments, or you can email us at hello@bookscatsandchaos.com, or you can comment on our YouTube or any of our other social media channels.
Yep. Please remember to like, subscribe, and comment. Your ratings and likes do really mean the world to us. And if you like what you hear so far, please share it with your friends, families, neighbors, babysitters, everyone.
Cats, dogs, lizard, gerbil.
Yep. Just put us on while you go out and
Parakeet.
let your fur babies listen to us. You can also check us out on TikTok, Threads, Instagram, Facebook. We try to be active everywhere we can. As we head out, please don't forget to give some big love to our friends over at K911 Rescue. That is K911 RESQ. And they do such important work, trying to help as many animals that are, not usually the cute, cuddly ones that everybody goes for. They tend to focus on the senior and the handicapped. the ones that really need the special attention and care and love. So please head over. They are very active on social media. They have a website. They rely on, all of us, on volunteers and fosters and everyone. So go give them some love. They are wonderful, wonderful people who do absolutely wonderful work. And we will drop their link in our show notes below.
All right, sounds good. So we will see you guys next time.
Yeah. Happy reading.